point, I've actually tend to learn a whole lot of things, like how you can actually navigate from one particular web page to that of the another by just setting that of the link. Remember, on most times, what you have to do when you want to set a particular link, that when somebody click on it, maybe you're doing a front end development, you are just for the front end. What you have to do is that for this href, which is directly pointing to a particular link that you want, when you click on this particular button, you can just set the entire URL here. But in our situation, since we're actually writing both the front end and that of the back end, we just set the URL pattern that we actually created by just getting by setting that of the name instead of copying this complete URL pattern. So you can see how simple that was actually to create and how simple Django was able to make this for us. So that's what we're able to achieve, that we can click on this about page and then we can click on go back to actually go back. So the next thing I want to do, what I want us to look at is in a situation whereby you want to add your CSS file, not just only CSS file. I want to add maybe a JavaScript file, a whole lot of other file, maybe for your styling and maybe to actually make your website more interesting or more interactive. Let me just zoom this back. So how to do that? Django tends to provide us a simple way to actually achieve it. There's something that is called static file. That's where the way Django recognizes it. In your app, you have to create a particular folder named static. So in that static, that's where you're going to create all your maybe your JavaScript files, maybe your CSS files. To actually do this, it's kind of simple. We have to come to the email is set to be inside your app. Is my app. This is actually called this blog page. So of it, are going to create a new folder. What I'm going to call is actually static. Make sure you name this static because Django tends to be really serious with some of all these and find them. Static inside of this of our static. So this has to be a folder, not a file. What I have to do that? Let me just delete that. Okay, go to recycle bin. That's supposed to be a folder, new folder. I'm going to call it static. Simple as that. So instead of this static, you're actually going to create another folder that has the same name with this of our app. So I'm going to create new folder. I'm going to call it, which is going to be our blog _ page. In your situation, if you give it a different name or a different app name is different, it's not blog page, make sure to name it that. So instead of this of our blog page, this is basically the same way we did this of our templates. We have to create a template and then give it the name of the app and then those of your HTML file. So let's say I'm interested in styling this of the about template, which is this about. Like this, there's no way it's even looking good. Like it's really messed up. Even though I've added all the information that I needed, but I need to actually style it a little bit because most modern websites, nobody will be really interesting. Nobody will be really encouraging to read something that look like this. This actually looks messed up. So I want to actually style this about. What I have to do is actually to create, maybe give it any name of project, create a file. My station, I'm going to call it about _ style. Remember you can name it anything of your choice. This is going to be a CSS file. Make sure to end it with the CSS. If you don't do that, you will be having issues. So for JavaScript, that should be JS. My situation, I'm using CSS. Remember that this is not only applicable to that of JavaScript, and for that of CSS, you can make use of like other front end and framework that I can actually add here. Even you can also include that of the video, pictures, and a whole lot of it in this of the static file. So once you're done creating it, hit enter. Here you are going to write your CSS file. So I'm going to since I've written everything I need on this of the about the HTML. So I've written everything that I need. What I have to do now, and before you can make use of this of the static file, like this static file, and when I mean static files, these are the example of this of the about the CSS. Before you can make use of it, you need to actually tell Django that you want to navigate to this file and make use of some styling that actually appear on this file. This is basically simple. This of the about.html. The first thing you need to do is actually load the static. To do that, it's basically simple. Just with your dictionary bracket, with 2%. What I'm going to do is actually load static. Simple as that. And this of your head, as I say, head side that doesn't actually show on the website, apart from the title and a few other things. Then you need to actually point to that of where your static file and the file you want to actually make use of actually exists by making use of that of the link. Okay, yeah, and then link and then ref and style sheet. We have to actually give you the direction where the your file actually exists. In my station, you have to make use of this block, this Django tag. That's what we're going to do. Since it lives in that of the folder called static, which is this static gear. And then after that, you have to put your colon on top, leave on this of the blog underscore page, and then slash what our about underscore style, and make sure to end with your colon top. So that settles it. So the type, can set the type, can give it test slash CSS. I think that's actually settles it. There's nothing really much again. So this is what we basically did. We created a static folder where our CSS file is going to be. This is not actually limited to that of only CSS. So before you can make use of it, you need to actually load the out of the static file or that of the static folder itself. And then you have to actually point it like how you do for your normal busy front end. You have to actually point it to tell your template to actually make use of this file to actually style my page. You can see the first guy was the main directory, which is actually this static, and then blog page was actually the name, which was this name we gave it, and then about style was actually the blog page, and about style that were actually specified there. So what we forgot to add that of the CSS, because that's actually what we did here about the CSS. So I think that's actually set. Remember when you're putting your colon, is actually two double quotes. So what it should inside there should be a single quote. I think that actually settles it. So if we go to our page and actually reload it, we didn't get any error. Okay, since we didn't actually get any error, everything seems to be working well. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to write some styling on this of the about the style. I'm going to pause it to do that because it doesn't really not going to be interesting. I'm going to write everything from the beginning. It's going to make this video too long. What I did was just I added a few, just a basic styling, which the body itself, I gave the font to the family of area, bold, background color, margin, and padding. This is just basic CSS that I don't want to make things more complex. The container, remember that this does signify that I'm actually styling a class, which is the container. We're actually talking about this class container. And then I don't think we're going to we're talking about styling of CSS. This in fact is h1 tag, paragraph. Remember that this is actually a class social icon, which if we go to about the HTML, let's go down a little bit, which is about social icon. This is a class, and then a few of them. These are basic style. You have the footer and that of the go back button when you over it. So that's just basically it. No more styling. Let's go back to our web page and then we look at our about page. Why didn't that take effect? Okay, I hope my server is running. Okay, why am I getting this? So let me run our server again to see whether that will actually refresh it back to actually take effect. So let me go back, load our about page. Okay, everything tend to work as we expected, which makes sense. This when we go back to our about page here, it look kind of similar, can't differentiate really much. The only problem I'm having here is this go back button that actually exists. So the problem that we will actually encounter was you need to actually stop your server at times. I don't know why that actually do that. You need to stop your server like how we did, and then we run the server again for it to take the effect, go back, see the main way it was, and then about P. So I need to actually style this a little bit. Let's actually see where the problem is actually coming from. So okay, so let's see where the problem is actually. Let's go back to because I styled that in our CSS file about style and then what do we give our this of our class button primary, and then our CS file will give it. Wow, is there anything called go back button? I think that's where I made the mistake. So let me just copy this go back button, go back to my home page, and then replace it with this go back button. So I know that I'm actually directly calling this of the this button. So let me actually check whether that took effect. Okay, you can see that actually took the effect. So the mistake was that I styled I gave it made a mistake when I was actually calling the name. So with that being done, we have actually styled our about page, which is actually looking like this guy with just a basic CSS styling. This is actually the main guy that we're actually looking at, which is this guy. Let me zoom this a little bit back, and then this is the one we have. When we go back, we're still getting something that doesn't really look beautiful the way we expected. So, but we actually tend to achieve a whole lot of things. So, next we want to do is actually to add all these buttons on top, because I've actually learned how to add buttons, how to create buttons, and how to add them. And then also we know how to add text by doing case of maybe your H1 tag, H2 tag, paragraph tag, and then next we are going to do is actually to add this of the entry. And after we are done adding the entry, I think then we'll go to that of the models.py and a whole lot of other. So we're going to go to that of the database and a whole lot of other things that actually follows it. So let's add these buttons here. To actually add this, since we want this to be appear in every, like when we go to our about page, or another tab of about page, maybe something like login, it will still want this kind of navbar to actually appear. So you know that we're going to add this in that of the base.html, and then I'm going to add it beneath after all this of the, what is it called, this drop down but menus, or you can say drop down kind of info. So let me just put it here. So I'm going to just paste it, so I don't need to type everything from the beginning. I already have that already, so it's going to be a navbar. Okay, so I think this settles it. So let me just do all these things really properly. Okay, I think that settles it. Let's go back to our home page, load it, get everything that looks like this. This is actually a bit I've messed up everything. So let me just get rid of some of the things that we wrote here. Some of the home.html. We need to actually get rid of some of them. I think most of them. Let's just start from here. It's not actually useful as of now. So let's actually reload our page again. Why do we get these guys going to this side? Our base.html is still looking messed up. Okay, so well, this is why I'm getting this on the problem is basically for this of our nav, but everything tends to appear really well, but we didn't close this nav bar, our div bar, our listing, the elements. We didn't really close a whole lot of things. So let's just do that quickly. Just paste it. So what we actually did, we also just added this of the close the element, the adding of the element, the div tag, the two div tag, which is actually this guy and that of the other guy and that of the navbar. With these changes, everything should actually come in place, because this is why we're actually getting that on the home pages, because we actually loaded this, which is extended out base.html. Which if if you didn't know this why we did that, make sure to go back a little bit. You are going to get the reason why we were able to make use of it in our home.html. You can see that when we load the page, everything needs to be a little bit. Now, only what is remaining for us is try to style it a little bit and then to move on. And also, when we click on home page, we're not really going anywhere. About page, we're not really going anywhere. So what we are going to do is actually to come to this update, which is our base.html. Here we are going to this signifier that I want to go to about page. So we can actually do our code tag, which is going to be URL about page. Just simple as I remember that this URL is a Django tag, and this about page is actually the name we give to our one of our URL match, URL pattern match, which is this about page that we wrote here. So enter or click on about, we can go back to about. So we can click on about, so now we can go back to, so we can now go back to about. To go back and go home. The reason why we are doing this, we're able to go back to home even though we didn't set anywhere, because it's not actually going anywhere. Just as if we are still trying to see the current page that we are currently on. Let's do that. Let's go back. Sorry, this is because this is why we're able to see this, because that's from about.html. Remember that now about.html we actually set one to go back to our home page. And also there's something I want us to actually do. Since this of the home, when we click on this of the home button that we have here, we're not actually going in. There's some station whereby we want to go to home. Then if we click on this home button, it's not actually going anywhere. So there's another trick to this. We can actually decide to set this like how we did here. That's actually to copy this, paste it here, and then change this to home, like how we set our URL matching, which is we gave it a name home page. We'll click on home page to go to that of the home page without any problem. Okay, it's still going to, even though we are still seeing the same thing, we are still going to, as what is actually happening is actually different. So we can actually do this, and we can actually decide to put it just a slide, because that's it's like this is actually signifying that I want to go to our root. I say our root web page, the main web page, which can be the list of the home page. When we click on it, the main home page. And I also want us to look at something. Remember that somebody have to come to this /home to actually start to view information. If you just go to a website, maybe a website directly, like how we did here, if we go directly, we're going to tell a page not found, which is not actually a best idea, and which is not actually a good design. So you have to actually go to home to actually start viewing the website. Let's imagine when you go to Facebook, you have to go to Facebook/home for it to actually view a website. So in this situation, it's always a good when you go to Facebook, you start seeing content instead of just going to facebook.com/home. I think that's not to achieve this. Instead of setting this home/home, we're not going to set anything here. We're just going to leave it empty. So anytime somebody just go to this of our entire port, which is http 127. Which is localhost and then port 8000, I start to get information. So when we load this, we're not going to get error that our home page does not exist. So our root, this is not going to be our root web page. So currently we are able to achieve a whole lot of things. We're able to create these nav bars, a whole lot of things, adding buttons, which will try my best to make it the simplest way. We're able to learn how to actually display content, to pass content from our backend to our front end. So there's something that we saw at the beginning of this video, like a particular URL pattern that was actually they actually came with that of the Django. Like when we go to this of the folder that has the same name with our directly, we go to this URL. How get something like this admin site? This is like a default created URL pattern that Django tends to provide for us. This admin site just more like kind of a beautiful GUI that Django tends to provide for us. In this place, we are going to actually look at situation. We'll start doing like that of authentication, like creating forms. We can go to this of admin. Can go to this of admin URL pattern. We can say admin web page. Then we can actually view the information we actually created on our database. We can actually edit. Meanwhile, most times we are going to make use of the CLI, which is the command line interface, most of the time to render some of the information, but we can actually do that in that of the admin. And some of the time we're going to do automation. We're going to automate some of the work we're going to do in that of the admin page. So first we're going to do, let's navigate. This is what we are currently on. Remember that this is actually /admin. Let's go to /admin. Remember that Django automatically provide this for us. So this is actually asking us for username and password, which we don't actually know any username or password that this actually has. So for us to do this, we have to actually migrate. We have to actually make migration and that or the migrate. But the problem with this is that we haven't actually created any information on how we're going to structure our database. But actually a way that we can actually achieve this, we're going to migrate first, and then we're going to make migration. Then when we will do that, it's going to apply some few database migration for us. Then when we start making use of that our models.py, then we can update our database. To actually do this, we need to stop our server from running. So by hitting Ctrl C, I think that should stop it. So the first thing we want to actually this is actually create was actually a super user, because when we come to this guy, they won't actually have somebody that a registered person that usually with a password. So we actually create was actually a super user. To do this, to create a super user, you can say Python manage the py create super user. It's just simple as that. Create super user at the end. Super user. Super user is going to be the person, the main guy that can able to log in. You can take the super user as the boss that owns the site. Like me, as creating the site, I can take me as the owner of the site. So I'm going to hit enter. But with this, we're still going to get few of errors, like I explained earlier. That the current situation where now I can see that, okay, let it run completely. This taking a lot of time to actually, you can see something at this end, something that no such table, because when you're dealing with database, it's actually creating a table the way information is going to be actually stored. And when we run any money.py, like this money.py, anytime we run it, we get this kind of, have 18 on applied migration. Page might not work properly until you apply migration. So, and we need to actually prepare our database table, and then we need to actually run migration. So Django can actually create some dummy data, or create some dummy tables that we can actually make use of as of now. Then when we start making use of the models of people, we can actually update them later. So actually, with that, since we have actually tried to create a super user, we came to a problem. So to actually solve this kind of problem, we're going to type our Python manage the py. Let me drag this up so we can see really well. Let me zoom it a little bit. So, okay, so it's too much. Python manage the py make, make migration. Migrations. Here is going to prepare our database. Okay, run everything successfully. You can see no changes detected. If we have some information on models.py and run this, we are going to get some information that is going to tell us, oh, some information we actually detected. Like when we update our database, we want to actually run this make migration to actually get the information updated on our database. So after we have done this, we have actually prepared our database. So now we need to actually migrate. To do this, we're going to type, which is Python.py migrate. Just simple as that. Migrate and then hit enter. It's going to return a whole lot of things. It's going to run a whole lot of queries. I'm going to prepare our table. So I'm not going to prepare a table, just actually see apply content type, blah blah blah. Lot of things. I think some things are popping up and vanishing on my folder. Okay, you can see everything, all the status return were okay. Right now, I can now create a super user that can actually log into this of our Django web page. To do that, so we have no hits. So yeah, which is, we're still going to run that of Python money.py create super user, simple as that. And we hit enter. Now you can see username. Leave blank to use HP. This is actually using the default system that I'm using, which is actually, I gave the name HP. So now I can create any username you want to give. So let me just give it Ezee. Okay, so I can say Ezee Kids. Okay, I can say 2027. Just hit enter. Then it asks me for email address. I can say Ezee Kids 2027 at what, sir? gmail.com. Simple as that. And then password, I can say testing 1 2 3 4 5. Testing 1 2 3 4 5. Simple as that. Okay, let's see whether we can, you can see super user created successfully. So I can now log in with this information that I have here, which is our username. So I'm going to go back to this site, which is /admin, reload it, make sure to reload it. So for it changes to take effect. Okay, sorry, I need to actually start my server back again. One server. Okay, let's just leave it a little bit for it to actually take effect. Server is up and running. Let me reload this again. Remember, the username we added, we gave it was Ezee Keys 2027, and the password was actually test 1 2 3 4 5. Remember that when we were trying to enter the password here, I forgot to mention that the password won't show up. I can see just try to hide your password. And remember that in the in real life scenario, password should be a little bit stronger than this. So there's a 1, 2, 3, and the username 1, and then let's hit on login. Okay, so you can see we're able to log in successfully. Let me zoom this a little bit. You can see we're able to log in successfully. And then we can see that administration board, welcome Ezee 2027, view site, change password, logouts. You have something called groups and that of the user. Groups is just basically, at this point, we are going to have 0 groups. Okay, I think let this load. You can see we have authentication and authorization. This actually signify the part of actually currently we have that is called 0 groups. Let's not talk much on that of 0 group. Let's go to that of the user. User are these people that actually have people that actually logged in on this of the admin panel. You can see this Ezee kit guy, which is the main guy, the guy that actually create. When I click on it, I'm still going to get some information relating to this Ezee keys, which is just the super user that I actually created. So you can see the username was Ezee kit, and then the password was testing1, 2, 3, and then you can see that the password was actually being hashed. It didn't actually save our main password. Here I can add the first name, last name. This is just actually something that when we did that migrate, when we made migration, Django tend to just give this default field. We'll check out other information that user tend to have. Like for example, this of the Ezee keys 2027, we actually created this guy. This guy was actually the superuser that can log into out of the admin site. Other users are more like when somebody went to our website and then try to log into or to register to be a member of our website, and then it will be given a fee permission, which is just an active permission. So but this super user that we created is more like the other information. And then when we look at this other information that a particular user have, like this of the email, the password, the first name, last name, email address, and then these are more like we can say default entry that Django can provide for each of the users. So in this, remember that in our case, we're actually trying to create a blog page. So we need to actually create our own models that can allow users to actually add content, maybe the date and a whole lot of other things. So that's what basically we'll be doing. So let me just leave it here.